Welcome to Spilling Some Tea. I am Cessi Sparrow of the Frontline. I'm doing social media management, and we are joined today by the Leslie Mack.
What's up, everyone? Director. Hi. Happy to be here.
And now, I'm not sure. Is this Lindsay or...
You know what?
Which love sister is it?
Which one is it?
I am the Beyonce of the family. I'm Chris Love, not to be confused with my baby sister, Lindsay, who sits on a school board, but I am not elected to shit, so I can say whatever I want.
We are happy to have you. Welcome to this week's episode of Spilling the Tea. We're going to start off with what the streets are saying. What's the streets talking about, Leslie?
Oh, you throwing stuff to me? I told you don't throw stuff to me. But you know what? I do know one thing the streets are talking about. The streets are talking about our hip hop uncles really disappointing so many of us, of our generation and generations before us, in their spreading of mis and disinformation around vaccinations, around the COVID vaccine, around this pandemic that we're all continuing to attempt to live through. I say attempt because I don't know some days. And I don't know, like, what is it about this age or generation of I call them hip hop uncles. So we're talking about the, Teddy Riley's, the Busta Rhymes, if you will, that age of performer who is made a great living, is living comfortably in their lives, and have taken now as the time to come out and prey, in my opinion, prey on some of the most vulnerable parts of our communities with misinformation and disinformation about COVID-19. And do we need a summit? Like, who can we get to call them in? Is this something we could put on Diddy's plate because he stayed saying he's going to do? What are we supposed to do with this? And I don't want to I'm not even talking about like access or listening to their music. I mean, honest to goodness, like, what are we supposed to do with this moment and this particular, this hip hop uncle, situation? I can't call it. It's a situation. I don't know what to do about it. What y'all think?
I wish they would just sit down and stop talking. I wish they would either partner with anyone who has more knowledge and political education, and then amplify whatever it is that those folks are saying, because their words are damaging. Their words are very damaging. I was listening to the radio this morning, and with this whole, and Black people can't afford to be anti-vax. I'm sorry. I'm just going to come out and say it. We can't afford to be anti-vax. We can't afford to be out here saying, oh, I'm just going to use some zinc and lemons, or, echinacea on the COVID. Just stop. Just stop it. They're even still trying to revive, as we're over a year. We're almost going into 2 years of this bullshit, and they're talking about reviving. Oh, well, the Tuskegee. You don't know the Tuskegee. We have Google. You have Google. You have smartphone, which is a computer right in your pocket. You're still talking about Tuskegee. Shut up. Don't listen to these folks. Partner with people who are more educated than you, and just sit down. That's what
I think the problem is that a hashtag abolish celebrity, right? Because just because you're famous or you have an audience doesn't mean that you have any kind of political education. Certainly doesn't mean that you have the knowledge base to talk competently, speak competently about any of these issues, right? Like, we've got folks that are upholding themselves as political, Ice Cube and, Diddy, and for what reason? Why? Because they know how to make some money? Because they got some bops? So I just think that one of the things that we need to be more intentional about is kind of tuning out some of the celebrity nonsense in the first place. So abolish celebrity. And also, I don't know that any of these fools can be sat down, because I think it's part of the culture that we're in right now too, right? Folks have a platform. They feel that they have the right to speak their opinion. And I think it is probably now more incumbent on us to be more discerning about who we listen to in the first place. And that's really hard, right?
It is.
Difficult. But it's like deadly. It's a matter of life and death when you have people telling you not to wear masks in a global pandemic where it's spread in the air. When you have people saying, well, I'm not telling you to get vaccinated. Well, yeah, actually, you probably should be telling folks to get vaccinated because you know they listen to you. I just feel like all of these old hip hop grandpa, uncles, whatever, we just listen to their bops and listen to nothing else.
Yeah, and I think it's such a place of privilege to even speak on things that you're not knowledgeable about. And the danger in that is so significant, because these are folks that have access. If they got COVID, if they did get sick, they have access to the best healthcare, the best treatments, the most advanced things, and a way of not having to work, not having, you know what I mean? All of the privileges that they have, that the folks that they are reaching most effectively don't have those same privileges. And so it's so irresponsible. Yeah. So look, I'm just throwing it out there that, we here on Spilling Some Tea are happy to host any of the hip hop uncles that want to have a discussion with us. We will
call me.
Just come on. Well, Matt. Okay, Matt, you could call us. Yeah, you could call us for sure, Matt. Okay. You might remember me. We was on a flight, a couple years ago together. Okay. Anyways, give us a call. Yes, we're happy to host any of you, and we'll bring on some COVID-19, some Black COVID-19 experts, and transmittable disease experts to come and really talk about this, because I think if you sat down and listened to folks talk, you wouldn't just be going off the handle like this. And we already know we have so many comorbidities that our communities are dealing with, especially at these uncles' ages and older, that we really can't afford. Like, I have two huge fears around this pandemic with Black communities. One is what we're doing to our children and what long-term COVID is going to mean for them, and the other is losing an entire generation of elders that we're just losing them. And those are where the numbers are going to be. This 100,000 people that they are projecting. That's what they're talking about when we talk about the bulk of those numbers that they're projecting are in those two sectors. So yes, hip hop uncles, get your shit together. You can come on Spilling Some Tea, and we'll gather you with love.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next thing we want to talk about is a revisit of one of the culprits in the Black on Black crime segment we spoke about last week, which was Ms. Candace Owens and her being denied service for COVID testing because she's being held to account for her reckless words and spreading of misinformation and blatant lies to everyone. So let me see if I still have it up. A really astute and very almost hilarious owner of a lab, and I'm just going to quote some of the good stuff in here. She says, "We cannot support anyone who has proactively worked to make this pandemic worse by spreading misinformation, politicizing, and discouraging the wearing of masks, and actively dissuading people from receiving the life-saving vaccinations. The only other testing option is," this is my favorite part, "the free kiosk by City Hall. They mail their tests to Texas and have inconsistent result times. Do not make appointments, so it's walk-in only midday weekdays in their back alley." And that is brilliance. That is brilliance, because this woman is tired. she said that she's tired. Her and her team, they worked overtime to exhaustion. They're underpaid and unpaid for some of the work that they've done. So they're not entertaining and they're not testing Miss Candace Owens. And all I can say to that is thank you. Thank you for taking a stand. Amen.
She effed around and she found out, you know.
But it's funny, it's because she wasn't it last week? Right after we had our segment last week, she had texted about how she hadn't gotten COVID and she had been everywhere, London, Paris, Tokyo, everywhere, and she hadn't gotten COVID and she was just fine. And now all of a sudden, I guess she got a little sniffle or something, and she needs a COVID test, and she did. She effed around and found out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel bad. I feel nothing.
No, I mean, like the provider said, they provided an option for Miss Owens, and also what gets me is, you know, we only know about this because Candace herself shared this on her Instagram, shared the email, shared her response. So it's one of those funny things around, like, normally I would be like, oh, this is like private, but girl, you put it out here, so we gonna talk about it. And it's the entitlement for me. That's the part that really is getting me, is the entitlement on Candace Owens' part. I'm not surprised by it, but to me, it's really just indicative of the kind of person that she is, that she has spent as the woman, as Cessi just read, you know, all of this time denying the truth about this pandemic and spreading mis and disinformation across platforms on her bullshit ass podcast all over the place. And now she wants to be treated with care and concern. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. So it's the entitlement for me.
I'm playing the tiniest of violins.
I ain't even got a violin. I broke it.
And I'm going to kick it over to you, Chris. What's the last thing the streets is talking about?
Well, you know, it is now officially, in my world, spooky season, which is all year long, really. But, you know, I need a little bit of happy in my life right now because being inside sucks. So last week, me and my husband and my sister, who is not me, we took a venture to the drive-in to go see the new Candyman movie, which opened last week in the middle of the panorama.
Number one by a Black woman director of review.
Right.
Shout out to Nia DaCosta.
Directed the movie. She and Jordan Peele wrote the movie. And I have issues about how Jordan Peele is getting the top billing for this, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we went to see the movie, and I'm a horror movie fan, a super fan. And we went to see the movie, and I was like, oh. Oh, wow. I could have probably waited to see the movie, but it was nice to get out and do the drive-in thing. But yeah, I don't know if you all are familiar with the original Candyman, but it had a lot to do with, an urban legend about a man who had fell in love with a white woman, and he was tortured and had his arm cut off and put a hook in his hand and all that kind of stuff by her father, and his ashes were spread in what became Cabrini Green in Chicago. And so the movie is a lot of the movie is about Cabrini Green and this white woman who's kind of a savior who Candyman recruits to be in his little gang. And the new movie talks a lot about gentrification, right? And it talks a lot about gentrification, but you don't really see it at all. Like it's a theme, but it's not really a theme. It was more like an explanatory comma for me, right? And then they did some convoluted thing with the plot, and I just did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy it, y'all. Sue me, whatever. I could have waited to watch Candyman. But I also watched another black movie right before we left for Candyman called Really Love. And I know people were really excited about Really Love. It has Kofi, I keep on calling him Cereal Bay. What is his last name? Cereal Bo?
Cerebo.
Cerebo, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Cerebo from Queen Sugar. And it's like Love Jones, but set in DC. And it did a whole lot of, hey, look, we're in DC. Hey, it's the corner of Georgia Avenue and Florida Avenue. Hey, look, I'm saying young, right? But it was just, again, another like explanatory comma for me, right? So I guess my thing is, if we're going to get black films with black filmmakers and black actors, I would like to see them talk to black audiences. Instead of doing this whole explanatory thing because they need to appeal to a wider audience. And it fails. It just fails for me. And I'm one of those people that was really excited. I was really excited to see Candyman, and for it to fall flat as it did for me and me venture out during the panini.
I haven't seen it yet. I definitely probably watch it. I don't think I'm going to get to the theater. My anxiety is too high right now around crowds or anything. And for some reason, even though I live in North Carolina, the drive-in situation is very sparse, which I don't understand. Charlotte, get it together. Like, come on, pop up something. I don't know. Do something.
It's the same here for us.
Irritating.
I was just trying to
be in the South. Like, we could be outside. Come on. What's wrong with y'all?
We have exactly one. Like, I had to drive to Glendale to get there. And if you know anything, I'm like in the southeast part of Phoenix, the Phoenix metro area. And Glendale is on the exact other side. And it took about 40 minutes to get there. So I really wanted to see Candyman. So now I'm mad.
I'm mad for you.
Yeah, I'm mad for you too.
But yeah, Sophie, I see you. Definitely go watch it, and then we can talk shit about it together. Watch the first one first, though. You have to.
I have heard that people are saying watch the first one first before you see it, and I've read some mixed reviews. I've definitely read one. I don't care what white people think about it, but I will say that part of the critique I hear that I've had of a lot of the Jordan Peele Monkey Paw production is that it does tend to feel like it's translating a black experience to a white audience. And also, I didn't like Us. No, Us I liked. What's the other one? The one with the T.
Get Out.
That one, I didn't like that movie. So, because that felt like that too. I mean, I appreciate the innovativeness of it, but anyways, yeah, I hear you, Chris.
You have to go see the first one. You have to see the first one before you see the second one.
Before you see it. Okay, so a double header.
A million times, but you need the stories are connected and
they're very connected. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so double feature it, everyone. Double feature it. Okay.
Yeah, that is good to know.
Hopefully it'll come to streaming sooner than later. I feel like that's what's been happening. They've been letting the movies come to streaming sooner. So even if you have to pay for them, like Aretha, which I'm going to watch this weekend, I'm excited. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm still scared of the first one. I'm still scared talking about it now. I'm like, don't say it too many times in a row, Chris.
Listen, I don't.
So wait. Let's play a little game. Let's play a little game. Let's play a little game. Let's play a game. And this is a shout out to my friend Ernest Owens, who is an amazing journalist from Philadelphia. So he posted on Twitter, if you say Philly 3 times in a mirror, what shows up? So we each live in 3 different cities. Mm-hmm. So actually, no, let's talk about where we're from. I think that'll be a more fun endeavor. So wherever we each are from. So if you, Chris, where are you claiming in this game?
I claim Maryland all day, every day. So
fantastic. Cessi, where are you claiming?
The Bronx.
Boogie down Bronx. Excellent. I, of course, will always rep Flatbush forever and ever. So this is where we are. Mm-hmm. So we'll go around. We'll start with Cessi, Chris, then me. Cessi, if you said the Bronx 3 times in a mirror, what's showing up?
Oh my God. I was so not prepared for this.
I sprung it on y'all.
I was so not prepared for this. I don't know. What show? It's been so long. all I could think is Parkchester. I think the zoo. I think the 6 train. You know, I'm thinking like old school up on like my mom is up in Co-op City. I'm thinking of Mount Vernon. You know, I'm thinking like all this different stuff. I can't even like different places come to mind, but not anything specific. Go ahead, Chris. You go.
Chris, who's showing up? You say Maryland.
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 Am I
3
from
times. So
Maryland?
who's showing up?
From Merlin? That's
From
crazy.
Merlin.
I just a can of Old Bay.
Of course. Put
it on everything.
Well, if you all day, shout out to it. For sure, if you say Flatbush 3 times in a mirror, 2 things will show up. 1, a pair of Timbs, definitely not the traditional color, and 2, a beef patty and some cocoa bread. So that's what you'll get if you say Flatbush 3 times in a mirror, for sure.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, that was good. Let's move on to our next segment, which is getting shit off our chest. What are we getting off our chest today, y'all? There's so much.
I'll start. Listen to me, friends. So a couple of days ago, Shaq Brewster, shout out to him, great reporter for CNN, was on location in Mississippi. I think he was in Gulfport reporting around Hurricane Ida. He's live on air, and as he's reporting, he literally is talking about like mail service resumed. He's talking about the curfews that are still in place, talking about power. I mean, honestly, giving the actual information people need to hear in the midst of this crisis, right? And in the background of his shot, a white pickup truck swerves over behind him, and a white man jumps out of the truck and runs over to where Shaq is reporting and starts screaming, "Are you reporting the truth? Are you reporting this correctly?" And Shaq changes his shot. He's like, "We're going to come over here because somebody's, doing something or whatever." Continues his reporting. And what you can hear this white man screaming at the camera operator. And then he comes back into frame and literally tries to physically assault Shaq Brewster. Actually puts hands on him. They cut back to the studio. Shaq throws it to the studio. He's like, "I'm going to throw it back to the studio because there's some wild stuff happening here. So I'm going to throw it back to you in the studio." So he throws it back to the studio. Of course, this is caught live. Everybody's talking about it. Now, I immediately was like, oh, this dude probably is like an elected official there. I can imagine him being, on a school board or something. And such. But no, friends. As the story starts to come out, and of course the police are now involved because somebody was assaulted, again, live on air, it comes out that it was a Ohio man by the name of Benjamin Dagley, who for some reason was in Mississippi in the midst of this crisis, and who was violating his probation by being in Mississippi. And I want to talk about this being a very clear-cut case for why police do not protect nan person in this country. Because Benjamin Dagle was not just on probation for just anything. He was on probation for attempting to cause an environmental disaster in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. He, because of a real estate dispute with the owners of a company that are on a property that he owns, broke into this building, drilled holes into tanks of, and I'm going to read this directly, cyanide, okay, hydrochloric acid, yellow chromate, ferrous chloride, and sulfuric acid, according to the current owner. Quote, "If you mix the cyanide and hydrochloric acid, you basically have the cyanide gas of World War I. It could certainly and would certainly produce a vapor that could kill. A security guard on premises, a woman, shout out to her, is the one that noticed that somebody had broken in. They have the footage of this dude going into the building and just 15 minutes drilling all these holes and then sneaking his ass out. The security guard had to be hospitalized because they were exposed to these vapors, and the EPA had to come out and actually contain the site because it could have done something to the entire neighborhood. Now, that's bad enough But I want to rewind because that's just what he's on probation for, okay? Because months before this, the owner of the company had went to a judge and requested a restraining order against one Benjamin Daigle because, and I quote, he had broken into the building before and had tried to put locks on all of the doors. The judge denied this request. And 2 months later, he again slid under the roll-top door of this business and assaulted one of the employees, breaking their knee and causing them to have to go to the hospital for lacerations from being punched by this person. So I want to pull back again and just say that this man assaulted a person, broke into a building, created a fire hazard by putting locks on these doors, then attempted to create an environmental disaster, and yet was still free to drive all the way to Mississippi to assault Shaq Brewster on air. What is the purpose of the police exactly? Y'all keep saying they keep us safe, and they couldn't even keep us safe from one tubby white man. Okay? I just want to say that. So I'm getting that off my chest now because it's a clear-cut case of they cannot keep us safe from anything. Their whole purpose is nothing to do with safety because Shaq should have never even been in a position to even encounter this person if y'all little laws were worth anything. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's off my chest now. Also, he has an arrest warrant out for his. He has an arrest warrant out for his arrest, and they have not found him as of yet. So he out here.
I did not know that it went that deep.
Oh yes, I started digging and could not believe it. I was like, they denied that he did what? It just kept getting more and more ridiculous. And again, he was just free to go and assault Shaq live on television after doing all of those things that I just laid out for you this year.
Yeah.
Over the stuff that he did was because he wants them to pay. They're in a civil lawsuit. And that's what caused him to do this. Quote, he wants us to settle and we won't pay, and that's why I think he's done it, said the owner of the business.
And he was just out roaming the streets.
You got to report the truth. The truth is you're garbage, Benjamin.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the truth.
You are trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Defund the police. They don't do shit. Okay.
I mean, they showed up later for no reason. Still ain't caught him.
Yeah. You know what? I meant to bring up this point to the fact that police don't protect us. In Louisiana, in the midst of everyone trying to recover from the massive hurricane, the Louisiana police, instead of actually helping to do their job, which is protect and serve, they're on an anti-looting campaign again. So, it's just trash. And they're given more money every year instead of the money going towards what it needs to go towards. We have millions of people at risk of eviction, and who's going to help execute these evictions?
Police.
The police. Meanwhile, families are being thrown out. They're being put at risk in the middle of a panorama. And, it's just, everything feels so dark right now, which is why we're here to try to add a little levity.
It's true. And it's one of those things where, I want people to really start questioning almost everything that they believe about these systems that surround us. It's a really healthy place to start, to be honest. And we know this has been proven statistically through study, through experiential learning, and through real, people telling their stories, that the way to fight crime has nothing to do with law enforcement. Mm-hmm. You lower crime by addressing their root causes, none of which involves law enforcement. Well, unless you count the violence that law enforcement brings into communities. So we have to address poverty. We have to address access to education. We have to address healthcare. We have to address root causes. That's why crime goes up when people are desperate. Mm-hmm. They're desperate. That's what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. Also, there's no crime spike. It's a lie.
Well, let's keep in that vein of people being desperate and criming, and let's swing it over to Reservation Dogs, which is the hot new show on Hulu. The hot new show which left me hella cringy. I'm going to throw it over to Chris.
So I guess I'm the resident indigenous aficionado or something, because I practice tribal law. So all of my career,
I would say expert. I don't know. It's not aficionado, but you know, you're bringing your personal experiences to the table.
I have degrees and shit. Okay.
Oh.
So, Reservation Dogs is a show that's on the FX network that, features a group of indigenous teenagers in Oklahoma and their quest to get out of the small town that they're in on the reservation. And it's a show that I really wanted to root for as someone who works in tribal communities and understands that representation of, indigenous people on television, especially major network television, is virtually non-existent. So I watched, I think there are 5 episodes out for Reservation Dogs currently. And the first one I watched, I was like, this reminds me a lot of Atlanta. In the way that it looks, kind of the speed, it's kind of that like ironic, funny sort of stuff that's going on, as opposed to like laugh out loud funny. And it, obviously it's heavy on the indigenous community references, the specific place in Oklahoma.
And also some of the surrealistic visual things that it utilizes very much like Atlanta, like people talking to versions of themselves. There's like a surreal element to it too.
Right.
Yeah.
But even like the graininess and the color scheme and dialogue, like everything about it reminds me of Atlanta. And so I was like, oh, this is like native Atlanta. Okay. And then I kept watching, and there is a specific episode, although it's included in all of the episodes, but there's a specific episode, I think it's episode 4, where they do a lot of use of Black aesthetic, I will say. Right. And, one of the characters' father is a rapper who has tats all over himself and has this song called Greasy Fry Bread. And, I noticed that, a lot of the characters speak AAVE, their interactions with Black people there are a lot of them in Atlanta. Are in Oklahoma are like few and far between. And even the ones that they have are really problematic interactions. And it just didn't sit right with me and in my soul. Because I am someone who works with tribal communities and in indigenous communities every day. And I know that anti-Blackness in indigenous communities is very real, because I've experienced it from the start of my career to now. And I've been practicing, almost 20 years or something like that. And so to see the heavy reliance on Black aesthetic really, hurt my feelings a little bit, because I know that, our culture is really cool and everybody wants to, wants Black shit, but they don't want to be Black. And, it was really hurtful, because I know that the show is never going to get into how indigenous people in this particular show, and outside too, it's, it's everywhere, really rely on Black aesthetic and mix it up with their own culture, but they don't talk about how they just don't like Black people. And so I'm having problems with it. I keep on watching, hoping that I will get something different out of it. And, the kids that are on the show are great. Like, they are amazing actors. The stories are fun. They do a lot of non-explanatory commas, actually. So they just do their stuff and they don't have to explain it, right? Like, they do a whole episode on IHS, and if you know anything about IHS or Indian Health Services, you know that it's janky. And so they do this thing, this whole episode, but they don't explain the joke, right? They just let it be and let it run its course. So there's some really great things about the show, but as a Black person, I'm having a really difficult time with it.
Yeah, I've watched it, all of the episodes that are out thus far. I was really excited to watch it. I had just finished Rutherford Falls on Peacock, and had really enjoyed that show, which I can do a separate critique around why it's still built around a white dude, which we can talk about. But what I really liked about Rutherford Falls was the indigenous characters on the show were so three-dimensional. Like, they showed a full breath, conflict within an indigenous family about capitalism, for example, was like actually a thing on that show. And I hadn't seen that before. When you talk about representation, I really appreciated it. So I kind of like came off the heels of binging that, and then, hey, and then, jumped into Reservation Dogs, not expecting the same thing. I knew it was a very different like approach, and not like a broad comedy like Rutherford Falls is, but also wanting that same thing, like a three-dimensional, representation of indigenous culture and indigenous people. And it definitely falls short in that. I think one of the things that really sits with me is the fact that, the co-creator of the show is Taika Waititi, who is not indigenous and also not American. And I can't help but feel like there's something there about an indigenous man, but not one from this continent, that is, bringing this need to have the cool quotient in there. And I wonder how this would play if it was taking it from an indigenous New Zealander perspective instead of indigenous American. I was thinking about that the other day, about how Taika's influence in here seems very strong. And so I have some questions there, but it felt beyond just the black sense and all of that. The word I used was black pantomime, because that's what it really felt like. There's a couple of characters, two brothers on the show that in particular are for sure pantomiming blackness. And they're very present on the show. They're a running joke, and they tell a lot of the more broad stroke comedy things on the show. They deliver those lines. And so I know in the writer's room that they are being written to be the comic relief. And so they're using blackness as the comic relief in the show. And it's really been disappointing to watch. And it's sad because, like I said, I just really wanted to love it. And you're right, the young actors on it are really amazing. And I'm rooting for them as characters. Like, I want them to get to California and all of that. And
this is my dude, man.
like, I really am like, really want them to succeed. So I'm going to keep watching, even though I'm having this feeling, because I really want to support this kind of work. I want to support these actors. I want to support the writers. I want to support the other creator of the show, Sturgeon Harjo, who I think is seminal. I want to support this project, but I feel like we're missing out if we don't speak honestly and openly about how we feel about it when we watch it, and speaking about anti-blackness wherever it exists. It only gets us closer to collective freedom when we are able to root out anti-blackness wherever it sits. So I thank you, Chris, for getting that off your chest.
I appreciate it.
Yep. Then the last item we have is, do we want to talk about Texas and SCOTUS?
Yeah, I guess we have to. I'm wearing my pink shirt that says healthcare is a human right.
And it sure is.
And I'm wearing my lovely
you got a whole uterus.
Oh, look at the uterus. I love it. I saw the
gift.
best graphic today was a uterus, but the fallopian tube was flipping the bird. I thought it was the best thing ever. I think Kelly Rowland shared it. I was like, I know that's right.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned dark days, certainly, Cessi, and I don't know about you two, but I was up, watching the clock tick down to 1 a.m. Eastern time, when this horrid series of laws went into effect, and in Texas, gutting Roe v. Wade and basically, not even basically, making abortion illegal in the state of Texas, because that's what it does. And just a few things I think are important to point out about the law. One is, they're calling it this heartbeat ban, which is just insulting. And it bans all abortions under 6 weeks, but it should be noted that it's not 6 weeks from when you are pregnant. It's actually 6 weeks from your last period.
Mm-hmm. That's how they measure it, right? That's how pregnancy is measured. And that 6 weeks is before most people even realize that they've missed it, figure out that they're pregnant.
Yeah.
And I
think
it's
really awful.
The disappointing thing about calling it a heartbeat law is at that point, you're barely 2 weeks pregnant and there's no heart formed. There's no actual organ formed. It's just a cluster of cells. It is a fertilized egg. That's it. It's not even
a pulse. It's not a heartbeat.
No, it's not a heartbeat.
It's just an electrical pulse.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I think I'd like to have us talk about, because I don't think it's been talked about enough, is, how we got here, which was a lot of white feminists, trademark, ignoring what Black, brown, indigenous, gender nonconforming folks have been saying about reproductive justice, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. What we have unfortunately been living through is multiple eras. I can just speak for myself as someone who's 45, where Roe v. Wade was positioned as the ceiling. First of all, it's the floor. Secondly, it was also positioned as long as we protect that, everything's fine. And I've watched over my lifetime the right shift their focus and understand that they weren't going to get rid of Roe, and they didn't need to. Mm-hmm. They didn't need to get rid of Roe to get rid of abortions and to make abortion illegal. And so they set about systematically just continuing to cut and cut and cut and cut and cut and narrow and narrow and narrow the scope of who can get an abortion, when they can get an abortion, how they can get an abortion. And that is where we find ourselves today, coming soon to a state near you, because Texas is a test ground, everyone. It is not an isolated. Oklahoma already has a bill in the works. Several other states. Florida has one in the works. Several other states do too. We saw this with voting rights. We're going to see it also around abortion rights. And I want to talk with you, Chris, about this because, you're the chair of the Arizona Planned Parenthood. And I want to talk with you about this concept of why we find ourselves here with white women being the loudest voices in reproductive justice, even though they're doing the least work and they refuse to listen to the things that actually matter, and how that brought us to this moment.
So many thoughts. I wrote a whole Twitter thread about this and kind of how we got here. And I talked a little bit about the night before about how, I've been numb to this for a while because we've seen it coming, right? I talked about how we saw, the die was cast when the Obama administration didn't push forth with appointing a last Supreme Court justice. And I don't think it should have been Merrick Garland because that was appeasement to Republicans. But Democrats did nothing. They did nothing then. And then we saw the issue with Trump being elected, and white women went to the polls with their white suits and didn't do the work to make sure that their white people were voting correctly, right? And then we saw Trump get several super ultra conservative Supreme Court nominations, put those people on the bench. And so the die was cast long before Trump came into office, right? Mm-hmm. And it's been a slow march, and not so slow march in places like Arizona, where we have an inordinate amount of trap laws and other laws that affect a person's ability to access abortion care. So I knew this was coming. When I saw that the PP Federation and Whole Women's Health and AFIA actually was part of that, part of the ask to the Supreme Court to intervene in Texas, I was just kind of like, I know we've got to exhaust our remedies or whatever, but this is pointless. And Supreme Court is going to take the Mississippi case in their next term or their upcoming term. So we know Roe versus Wade is gone, right?
Done.
It's done. It's done. So I don't want anybody, I'm not an optimist by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm real. It's done. And so it is literally because white women have focused on abortion rights. And in that focus, they've allowed conservatives to shrink our universe and have even adopted some of the language that we see antis use, right? So there was, back in the 90s, we heard about safe, legal, and rare. All of these capitulations about abortion. I wouldn't have an abortion, but I'm not pro-abortion, or, nobody really wants to have an abortion, and so all of those things were like death by 1,000 cuts.
I remember President Obama had that quote where he said, "Nobody wants more abortions." And I was like, who's nobody?
I had an abortion.
Who's nobody?
Right? It was the best thing ever. It saved my life.
Who is nobody?
But we hear this all of the time, and I especially hear it from folks who are associated with Planned Parenthood, who are supporters, and they're well-intentioned people, but they don't realize that they've kind of adopted the language and the strategies of the opposition, right? And it's been a long march since Roe v. Wade. They've been working on this, and just tick, 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 ticking away. And it's unfortunate to see now. And yes, everyone is just really sad about this. I feel nothing. Right? Because I've been preparing myself for this, but I've also been preparing for the possibility that we could do something that's better than Roe, right? Like Leslie said, Roe is the floor, not the ceiling. And Roe has left out the reproductive justice, reproductive freedom talk that we should be having. It's been excluded. And so now I think there's more room to have those discussions and to create a brand new framework. I said something in my tweet about breaking some shit, and some conservatives decided that they were going to, number one, confuse me with my sister.
That's racist. That's racist.
Right?
It's hella racist.
Two, accuse me of wanting to start calling for riots and inciting violence. Which is funny because I'm too lazy for all that.
Also saying what? We should. So
right.
We should all be ungovernable. Fuck it.
Right.
Whatever.
We should make things very uncomfortable for people because it's been very comfortable for them for far too long. And break shit can mean break shit, or it can mean break the systems that haven't served us. And right now, the system, our legal system, which I am a part of, I am an officer of the goddamn court, is not working for people who want to live their lives in a way where they have reproductive, autonomous freedom, right? It's not working for us in that way. So we need to break the shit. I'll say it again. I'll say it for you 4 times. Break the shit.
It's time.
Right. And that's really all there is to it. It is a new day. I feel more strengthened today than I did yesterday. I feel more resolved today than I did yesterday, but I don't know that that's for saving Roe.
No. I appreciate that, Chris, so much. I've been feeling so bad about all of this. And, my mind always just goes to, the folks that are not going to get the services that they need in the immediate, in the interim, in the, while we try to do better and do more. And, Rachel Maddow's show last night, she had a provider on saying they had to turn away 50 of 55 women that came to get abortion services the first day this went into effect. And so I also just want to mention, we talked about representation before. I ain't heard nothing from that first female vice president about this situation once.
Not a peep, not one peep.
Just
Yeah.
saying,
It's been more than
it's
24
an
hours.
observation. It's just an observation,
Yeah.
right? It's
And
just an
then
observation.
it's more than 24 hours. So what's the holdup? And it's not like we didn't know this was coming. We've been hearing about it for over a week. So
I don't want to focus on those boring people. I don't care about her. But what I do want to do is shout out the people in Texas. And I want you to know that the folks in Texas are used to this shit. They are battle tested. Because Texas is one of the first places where they lost Title X funding.
Yep.
They lost a bunch of abortion providers. It's kind of like a wasteland, right? But they've endured. And they've been able to do the things that they need to do. I know here in Arizona, we have a law on the books that right now criminalizes abortion for people who receive abortions, providers, people who advertise for abortions. That will go into laws as soon as Roe versus Wade is done. And we are making preparations. And I know that the folks in Texas have been preparing for this for a long time. Abortion's not going away. I need y'all to know that abortion is still legal in all 50 states and the United States. Yes, this is a definite challenge for Texas right now, but abortion is still safe and legal, right? And we need to lean into that and fight our hardest for it. And that means that we can't be nice. We can't have these nice, quiet little conversations. People need to learn how to say abortion and stop being scared of saying abortion. And we just need to fight. And, you know, I had an older woman, a woman who was 60 plus in my tweets yesterday talking about, you know, been fighting this for so long. I'm just so disheartened for my daughters. And I was like, you know what? I'm disheartened for all of us. And I'm disheartened for the folks who came before us. And I feel like we've let them down.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody's guard was down. Because like Leslie said, we were being told repeatedly, you know, Roe versus Wade is settled law and blah, blah, blah. Now I know the people in this sphere didn't believe that. And we knew it would happen. And we told people what was at stake over and over and over again. But it just feels like, you know, we failed the women who worked so hard.
Yeah, that's real. But you're right. Folks are ready for this fight. We're all ready for this fight. I just want to be clear. Can we stop saying pro-choice? We are pro-abortion over here. We are pro-abortion. 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 And also, I want to make sure that we're not leaving our gender non-conforming siblings out of these conversations as well, because more than just people that claim a woman identity need abortion services, get abortion services, and need to be included in these conversations too. And so when you talked about like something bigger, something better, and how reproductive justice needs to be at the heart of it, it just got me kind of like amped up and like, yeah, we can do better. We can stop framing it around this choice shit. We can stop leaving out our gender non-conforming and gender expansive folks who also need to be at the table and discussing these things with us. So you got me all fired up. Thank you. I was so down, and now I'm like all back up.
Yeah. I want to say I'm going to agree wholeheartedly with Leslie, because coming into this, when I was like, you know, we're all feeling kind of dark, I was feeling dark. But Chris, you definitely lit a fire under me, because it's true. You know, Roe still is the law of the land, but we don't have to leave it there. You know, the same way that these folks, our opposition, have learned to pivot, they've learned to chisel away and narrow the focus and narrow the scope. Well, you know what? The opposite of that is we can broaden it. We can also change direction. We can also, like Leslie said, bring in our gender non-conforming, our other folks who also have uteruses, who also menstruate, who also use birth control for other reasons. Because believe it or not, this is just the start. They're coming for your birth control pill.
Oh, yeah.
They were already coming for your IUDs.
Already.
You know, they're coming for all of it. I don't want to tell too much of my own history, but in the darkest part of my life, I was faced with this, and I was in New York City. So don't feel comfortable just because you're sitting in a highly liberal area of the country. This bullshit is pervasive. Is that the word?
Yep, it is pervasive.
It is pervasive and insidious.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I love this. I love you, Chris. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you guys for being so nice to me. Did you know I'm not my sister?
Wait, I thought Lindsay was on this call.
Yeah,
Oh,
wait,
dang.
All right, let's move it forward. Who are we effing up? So I have to say effing up because Leslie's on the call. Who are we effing up this week?
Who are you effing up this week, Cessi?
Listen, I want to start with, you know what? I've been saying it. I'm going to be a broken effing. Can I swear? Can I just say one?
It's your show. We just asked.
I'm going to bring a broken fucking record. I'm tired of you anti-vaxxer, anti-vaxxer people. I'm sick of y'all. Y'all got my 10-year-old up in this piece. I want to F up whoever is the raggedy ass people raising these unmasked spawn who think it's okay to persecute other kids because they're trying to remain safe so they don't kill the damn parents and the grandparents. I want to F up whoever doesn't love their kids enough to send them to school with some basic fucking protection so that we can keep control of this virus. Down here in Georgia, we are at a plus 18% positivity rate.
What? Damn.
You know, this don't make no sense. We still don't have enough people vaccinated. We have a 13-year-old eligible for a vaccine, most likely was unvaccinated, died yesterday.
Damn.
You know, we've had, and I'm not exactly sure, but in the stats, it is showing there have been here in Georgia 15 children, one as young as 12 months old, who have died. And, you know, we were just talking about the folks who are anti-abortion because they want to save the children. Well, here we got actual children, physical walking around, you know, children who aren't, you know, reliant upon a placenta. Children who we actually have to clothe and house, and if they're like mine, feed a lot. You know, we have actual children that we have to educate who, you know, the attendance records are out of control here. We've got a bunch of schools that are, you know, there's vast unenrollments going on. I'm in the process of transferring my 10-year-old's enrollment to an online academy, which I'm not even sure it's going to happen. I think I'm actually going to be homeschooling, and I'm fucking furious over that bullshit too. Not that I don't love my kid. I love my kids. I go balls to the wall for my kids, but I don't want to be the one looking at, you know, delivering. You don't want me teaching a 10-year-old math. Come on now. Come on. My best subject was geometry, and I only did geometry because I could not do algebra. Not that I can't do algebra. I'm not stupid. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. You know, the things we don't want to do, we avoid. And yes, we don't want to wear masks, but the way we get out of wearing masks is to vaccinate and to protect ourselves and each other. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of this. I want to F up Delta. I want to F up the anti-maskers. I want to F up the anti-vaxxers. I'm sick of all y'all. And I really wish that you would choose your own humanity and the safety of your own children ahead of this ideological, that's not even a real debate. It's not a debate. It's just outright ignorance. I wish you would choose compassion for yourself over ignorance.
Tell them why you're mad, Cessi. Tell them why you're mad.
I'm mad.
Ooh, wow. Oh, yes, I'm with you on that. Who you effing up this week, Chris?
Biden.
Oh, Robinette head ass.
Biden. Joseph Robinette Biden. Let me tell you why. This week, there's so many reasons why I'm fucking up Biden right now, but this week, and one day alone, we got word that the education czar will be working to investigate several states that have mask bans. And Arizona was not on the list. Why was Arizona not on the list? Because technically our mask ban hasn't gone into effect yet. The court just decided that our mask ban goes into effect on September 29th. The earliest schools, including the school for this one that's crawling under my desk down here, started at the second to last week of July. So children have been in school since July, unmasked, and our governor pulled some shit where he was tying grant funding to schools, $1,800 per pupil, to school districts not implementing mask mandates. So how they have decided that our mask mandate hasn't technically gone into effect when our children are being affected right now and getting sick, right, is beyond me. That's a failure in leadership from the top, because you know what they could have done? When I said so, when Joe Biden took office, they could have tied strings to any kind of COVID funding, because the federal government can do that with federal dollars. But they've chosen to be reactive instead of proactive, when handling the pandemic should have been the first and most important priority on the list of the administration. Going along with that, on the same day, Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who I grow to dislike more every single day, got up and said, now that the moratorium on evictions has been overturned by the Supreme Court, the same one that didn't act on SB 8, they are encouraging, AG Merrick Garland is encouraging all lawyers and law students and law adjacents to pitch in on this emergency and do some pro bono work, because that's the strategy that they've put in place.
First of all, y'all already doing the pro bono work. Every freaking lawyer I know is already doing housing pro bono work right now. Stay in court. They be in court already.
But that's not even a solution.
I'm saying that their solution they named is already happening and it's not stopping the eviction crisis.
So it's Biden's fault because it's his administration and he's whack. But more importantly, this is just the lack of imagination that we've been talking about all along. There are things that people could be doing. There are things that Biden could be doing. The same Biden who promised us about the Hyde Amendment and didn't get to it till 6 months later, and now we're over here on the verge of having abortion rights be nullified by that same SCOTUS. So I'm pissed at Biden. I'm pissed at everybody that works for Biden. I'm pissed at Biden's mama. May she rest in peace. I'm mad at his dogs. I'm mad at anybody, his progeny, his ancestors, anybody that I can be mad at who is associated with Biden. I've got some serious bones to pick, because they have bungled and botched this COVID response from day one to day whatever the fuck it is right now. And I need them to do better. We all need them to do better. Our lives depend on it. And they're just acting like,
Yeah.
Yes, all that. I don't even have anything to add. Who do I want to F up this week? I want to F up anybody that fixed their fingers to listen to the album by an indulgent rapper that rhymes with Wanye Cast. I would like to tell you all, fuck you, first of all. Number two, it's clear the music is whack. Number 3, you're allowing the indulgence of this individual has reached epic heights and proportions. The disrespectful nature of the project itself to his own mother's name is actually like makes the bile come up of my esophagus a bit. And all your little oh, he's a genius. Where? Where? So that's who I'm effing up this week. If you fix your fingers to listen to that trash, shame on you. Sad. Just sad.
We don't know him. We don't know her.
Lil Nas X album come out soon. So I'm gonna be listening to that when it drops.
Yeah.
We love Lil Nas.
We do. We do. Well, with that, let's move along to our last segment, which is the slice of joy. I'm still on the COVID train, and my little slice of joy happened on Monday when I was watching MSNBC, and they were talking about the tiny little town of Panola, Alabama, which has a 90+% vaccination rate.
Why do I have a feeling a Black woman had something to do with that?
She absolutely did, and it was Auntie Dorothy Oliver.
Come on, Auntie.
Auntie, let's give it up to her. She went door to door. She worked the phones, and I think it was Eugene asked her if she got any static, and she was like, "Oh no, people are nice here," which is translated to, "They know her."
Yeah, they know not to mess with her. That's what she meant. She said, I can go door to door. I don't know about you, but I can go door to door.
Right. And she's really adorable. I love her. But yes, it's thanks to her. And she literally was just basically telling people, we don't need this mess down here. And I think since the pandemic began, the stat is something like they've only lost a single person.
Listen, she did that Ayala Van Zan meme. Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
That's a live reenactment right there, y'all. Live reenactment.
You got to love it. My little slice of joy this week is that my new podcast premiered on Tuesday called Blackberry Jams. Plug, plug, plug. And I'm really excited. People have been really loving it. And we were in the top 20 music podcasts the day after it launched, and ahead of Talib Kweli's podcast. And because I'm petty, and because I'm petty like that. Speaking of inappropriate hip hop uncles, and I'm just really excited to have it out in the world. Me and my friend Lenny have been working on this little secret project for a while. It's sponsored by Ben and Jerry's.
Shout out to Lenny.
Shout out to Lenny. And yeah, I'm just really excited that it's out. It's been a really great creative outlet for me, and had a little bit of joy in this darkest of year that I've been able to work on. So that's my little slice of joy. Check it out, Blackberry Jams. You can follow us on any social media platform, Blackberry Fans, PHANS. And if you're a Black Fish fan, please give us a call, 888-FAN-JAM, 888-PHAN-JAM, and let us know about your experiences with the band Fish.
Yay! I don't know anything about Fish, and Leslie sent me the podcast, and I was like, I'm learning. I'm learning. So I'm very
Listen, my dream is like when we get through all of this, to do like a big Black girl magic, like go to a camping show with like mad Black women to experience it all together. So I have this like in my head, I have this dream of doing that, because they do at least 2 big camp where you stay like overnight 3 days, and they do 3 nights of shows, and you get to camp out and hang out and stuff. So I have a dream that one day I'll be able to bring a whole bunch of Black women to experience Fish with me. So yeah.
Yay. Oh, what's bringing me joy? I'm on vacation officially today. Oh. So all of these work emails that I'm ignoring, hi boss, I'm ignoring you intentionally because I'm on vacation. And I ordered a Black Christmas tree so I could put up a Halloween tree.
I can't wait to see this tree. I'm so excited about it.
Wait, was this the Satan tree?
This is the Satan tree. I am am a bit of I go a little bit crazy for Halloween.
It's not a little bit, y'all. Just
No,
FYI.
that's an understatement.
I go a little bit ham on Halloween. I usually do like a horror movie calendar, and I'm working on that. So I'll share that with you all next week or whatever. But I wanted to. Living in COVID is shitty. And so I'm putting up a black Halloween tree. So I ordered a Christmas tree from Treetopia or wherever, and it comes tomorrow as I'm leaving for my trip. But listen, I am so excited to decorate this tree. And I bought some little cutesy stuff for my little one. But I also just went to my mom's house and raided the house for old dolls. So I'm gonna put some doll heads on. I'm gonna put some doll heads on them and spook it up a little bit and do all sorts of fun and crazy things and probably scare myself to death. But I'm so excited. I am so excited, and that brings me joy. Halloween brings me joy. Like, if I had an order, it would be Halloween, Christmas, and then all those other holidays where you get to eat.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Spilling Some Tea on the Frontline. We will see you again next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Oops, sorry, y'all. That's telling me to get offline. 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Pacific. Chris, I'm not doing this with you with Mountain Time. I'm not doing it. We just going.
Yeah, I mean, we're 3 hours right now, but in October it will change to 2.
Yeah, that's too confusing.
I'll keep you Mountain Standard, Pacific Standard people. I'll keep y'all posted because I don't know when the time changes. We just don't.
Yeah. But thank you all. Thank you everyone for joining us. We're super grateful. Oh, I forgot. The Frontline does have a tiny slice of hope. I won't necessarily call it joy. The Frontline has a tiny slice of hope all over, from Haiti to Mississippi to Louisiana, now New York and New Jersey. All of us have been inundated with natural disasters. And the Frontline actually has some help for that. We got you. Right on our website, we have a resource map of mutual aid organizations. They're grassroots. If you look we're all here on IG. If you look on our link tree, we have some trusted orgs that you can either donate to or you can receive help from. So we have a new list specifically for Louisiana and Mississippi from the Movement for Black Lives. It's posted on our link tree, or y'all can always hit us up like you always do in the comments or in the DMs. You can always hit us up and ask for help. But I will post in the caption the direct link to our mutual aid map on the website. And
it's frontline.org/map.
Yep.
So you can go there and check it out.
Super simple.
And we're going to continue to add to it. It's going to become a living resource, and we're excited to be able to provide that for folks. Because direct giving saves lives. Period.
Always and forever. So thank you guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.